channel. So today I'll be showing you guys how to make this dress that ties at the back. The back is completely open. So the first thing I'm going to do is to start with the bottom skirt. So what I'm going to do is to divide your hip measurement, which is the widest part of your lower body, by 4. So I'm working with 48 hip divided by 4, that's 12, plus 1 inch, that's 13. So my width here is 13 and my fabric is folded into 2. This first 2 here is going to be my front panel, right? This is my front panel, and then I folded the second one at the back. This is my back panel, and the back panel has about 1 inch or 1.5 for the zip allowance at the back. So the next thing you're going to do now is to mark. Okay, so now I know that this is my hip here. My waist to hip measurement is 10. So I'm going to mark it here, and then I'm going to come up. This is going to be my waistline. On my waist, I'm going to divide my waist measurement, which is 36 divided by 4, that's 9, plus extra 2 inches, that's going to be 11. So I'm going to mark 11 here. So your waist measurement divided by 4 plus 2 inches, your hip measurement divided by 4 plus 1 inch. So I'm going to connect these 2 lines together now, my waist to my hip measurement, and then I'm going to come down on at the end here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract 1 inch here. So this my hip measurement is the same thing that is here, right? But I'm going to subtract 1 here, so I'm going to be left with 12 at this end here. So what I'm going to do is this 12 here, I'm going to come down on this hip line by about 1 inch here, and then I'm going to connect this line to this line, right? I'm going to connect it to this point here. So I've connected it now. The next thing I'm going to do is, so I've connected everything. So at this point, I'm going to start cutting it out. But before I cut it out, let me open up my zip allowance at the back. This is going to be a short dress. To mark your shoulder to your waist, right? Your shoulder to the waist, and then you're going to subtract it from your shoulder to the full length of the dress, right? So that's what I did here. And the bottom of my dress, so I want the bottom of my skirt to be about 21 inch. So I added 1.5 to it. So whatever length you're using, you're going to add 1.5 to it. Half an inch for joining this top part, and then 1 inch for folding the end. So I'm going to start cutting mine now. So guys, on my front panel, I came down by like half an inch here and blended it in all the way down here. So I just came down half an inch here and curved it all the way. So my skirt is done. I've split open the back. So all I have to do is just go ahead and then put my darts, come down here 2 inches before my hip line, stop, do it on the other side, do the same for my back. My back panel, my back dart will be around like 5 inches down. So that will be it for my skirt. So I'm going to set this aside now and show you guys how I'm going to cut the top part. So guys, for the top, all you have to do is your bust measurement divided by 4 plus extra, your bust measurement divided by 4 plus extra 2.5 inches. That's how you're going to know the width you cut. So so for me, the bust measurement I'm working with is 42 divided by 4, that's 10.5, plus extra 2 inches, 2.5 inches, that's going to be 13 on the dot, right? So what I'm going to do, half of that 2.5 that I added extra, I'm going to mark it inside of this here. This is going to be my seam allowance, because this top is going to be cut separately, right? I'm going to cut it open here, and then I'm going to join it back. So this half an inch here is to join it back. And then the next thing you're going to do, I've marked my half an inch seam allowance on the inside. The extra 2 inches remaining now, remember I said your bust measurement divided by 4 plus extra 2.5. I've used up the half, the 0.5 is remaining 2. The 2 is for your seam allowance on the side and for extra fabric to cover your bust on the side, because remember this fabric doesn't have any back, so you need you don't have to use your bust measurement on the dot. You need to add seam allowance so that it curves a little bit on the side to cover your side boob. So the next thing you're going to do is go up to your shoulder. The shoulder I'm working with is 16 divided by 2, that's going to be 8. So I'm going to subtract 1 from it. I'm going to have like 7. And remember, all my markings are starting after my half an inch, so I'm going to mark it here. And then from this point here, I'm going to come down here by 2 inches on the dot here, and then I'm going to connect this line to this 2 inches here. So I'm going to connect it to this my 2 inches mark. Use your ruler, that will be better. So guys, I've subtracted, remember I subtracted 1 from my total shoulder measurement. That's how it's normally done for a sleeveless dress. You don't use your full shoulder, you normally subtract 1 inch or 1.5. so that the sleeve is inside of your shoulder, not at the edge of your shoulder. Because remember, when you measure your shoulder measurement, you measure up to the edge so that the sleeve can meet at the edge of your shoulder. Like if this is your shoulder, you measure all the way to the end of your shoulder. But now when you're making a sleeveless, they normally come in by 1 inch or by 1.5, so that the sleeve comes inside of your shoulder and goes under your armpit. Let's say this is your armpit, it goes underneath it instead of coming to the end here, because there's no sleeve coming to that end. So the next thing I'm going to do now is I'm going to mark my 3 inches from this my half an inch here. Remember, all my measurements are still starting from this half an inch. So from that point, I'm going to mark 3 inches here. And then on what I have left is like 4 inches here. I'm going to mark the center of my 4 inches, which is going to be 2, right? And then on this line, I'm going to come down by 1 and mark my shoulder slope. Connect it to this point here. And then I have my shoulder slope right now. So what I'm going to do is to mark 1.5, right? Making this the center of my 1.5. I'm going to mark half of it here and then also half of it here, right? So the next thing I'm going to do is to blend in this line into this line here. Blend it into this line. So this is now my new, this is now the new line for the side of my shoulder, right? I'm going to just blend this in here, and then this one, so that this line here doesn't count anymore. So this one now here is going to be the line at the inside of your shoulder. This particular one now will not count anymore. So we'll now move this line. We'll now move this line depending on how you want how deep you want the V to go. Let's say I'm going to make mine like come up by 6. So I'm going to make 6 inches coming from the bottom of my dress, or let's say 7 inches coming from the bottom of my dress. So somewhere here, I'm going to connect the V. So I'm going to mark it all the way down here. If you want yours lower, you can always go lower than that. If you want your V to come down more, because like the picture, looking at the picture on the thumbnail, I think her own came down more than that. I think it's like 4 inches distance, but I'm making mine to come up a little bit more. So I'm going to start cutting it out now. So all you have to do is just start here, and then you're going to cut this out, right? Cut out your neckline. So you see my neckline is out. Open up that half an inch that you left for the center. Although you're opening it up, remember you still have half an inch here that you used to close it back up again. So next thing I'm going to do is to cut out this line. And watch how I'll follow this particular one. You see, I'm not going with this outer one, I'm going with the inner one. And then after that, I'm going to cut my shoulder slant. You see, it's now done. So my top is done. I'm going to notch it so I know that this is my the center of my top here. And this is the outer part of my top. So I'm going to trace everything on the lining. So guys, before you cut it out, I just remembered you can just go ahead and trace in your half an inch before cutting it out, or trace out like 1/4 of an inch and then cut it out, instead of cutting out on that same line. Like trace out 1/4 of an inch or half an inch, because I didn't do that on my own, but I'm just going to manage it and just take out my seam allowance still from here. But if you have not cut yours out yet, just go ahead and trace out, just mark like a dotted line of half an inch or 1/4 of an inch out there, and then cut out on that particular line. Do the same on your neckline here. So guys, I've gone ahead, joined my lining and also joined the fabric itself. So you see, each of them is joined together back again with that half an inch I left. So this is the lining also joined, so it's right side facing each other. So the next thing I'm going to do now is I'm going to just start from the side here, close up this seam, and then I've already also made my belt. So I'm just going to put my belt from the inside here, I'm just going to put my belt in between this way, and then I'm going to cover it this way. So I'm going to make a stitch, come up here, double stitch it, come back in, come up, back again here. The same thing, I'm going to put in my belt on the inside, right? Double stitch it, close up the other end. So guys, I've made my stitch all the way around like an M, 1, 2, and then back down again. So what I'm going to do now is to cut out the excess and notch it to release the tension, and then I'm going to just flip it inside out and then give it a breast dart at the end. So guys, as you can see, I've gone ahead and dart the top part, and you see I dart it with the lining too. So what I'm going to do is, this is the front now, so I'm going to attach it to my skirt, and I've also gone ahead to the front part of my skirt. I've also gone ahead and added my dart to the front part of my skirt, as you can see. So I'm going to join these two together. I'm going to start with the center and then join it. Just find the center of my skirt to the center of my top, and then join it together. I'm still going to have excess of this top part remaining. Don't worry about it, because remember, I didn't say anything concerning the waist of this top. I just used the bust all over to the waist. I didn't say anything about the waist. That's because the remaining piece of this is just to cover you all the way around. So whatever is left is going to be attached to the back. So don't bother about it. Just find the center of your top and attach it to the center of the skirt. Sew it all the way to this end. Forget whatever is left, about 1 or 2 inches left at this end. Just leave it like that. Sew it all the way to this end, and then all the way to this end. Whatever is left on the two sides, we'll still talk about it. So guys, this is one side of the back. You see, I've gone ahead and attached the band to one side. I first gave it the dart and then put in my band. So let me show you guys with this one that I'm yet to do. So this is the other end here. So this is the other side of the skirt, the back panel, right? So this is what I'm using here. I've ironed it. So just a piece of fabric, I folded it to give me a band. So just open it up this way, is about like 8 inches or so. Folded it, because I don't have stay, so I use the fabric to make it thicker. So folded it this way. So I'm going to put it, attach a band again. Remember, after you've put your dart, not before the dart. So I've put the dart. So now I'm going to go in, just put this in between here, and use about 1/2 inch to just sew it to this here. So I'm just going to close it down and then just sew it down. So that's it. So after doing that, as you can see, the front panel is done. Everything on this front panel is done at the moment. So what I'm going to do is just take my back panel. So guys, this is the front of it right now. So what I'm going to do now is, the front panel, I've attached it to the skirt. So what I have to do is take my back panel. After putting in my band, I'm just going to place it on the side. So make sure that the ends are the same. So I've made sure that my ends are the same. Just place it properly, and then you see my band came up here. Remember when I was cutting it, I told you to leave about 2 inches here. So that now you're going to just make sure that as you're sewing it, still leave that 2 inch, that excess that is on the waist, leave it. Don't bother with it. Just go ahead now, make a stitch and close up the side of your skirt, right? This is still on the inside, leave it there. Just go ahead now, the way you've placed it, just the same size that the side of your skirt is supposed to follow. You see, the side of my skirt, all of them is placed together, but when you get to this point, you see I have this excess from the top. I just ignored it and made my stitch all the way using that 1 inch I left on my skirt, and then close it up. That's what I'm going to do now. So guys, after joining the two sides, the next thing I did is to join the center back, join the two pieces at the back together, put in my zip, right? Putting my zip up to the band, fold the end, right? So this is basically done. And we still have this piece here. You see why I said just forget about it? You see, it folds inside of it. You see, it folds inside, now facing towards the back, so it's covering you coming this way. So all you can do if you want to hold it down is just to follow the same line of your skirt and just hold it down. Maybe go back and forth on it, like double stitch it on the same thing on this side. You see, just go back in and double stitch it. If you want, you can do it at the top part. It depends on you. If you don't want to have too much seams, just follow the seam of where you attach the band of your skirt. So that's basically it. So now all you have to do is to just, how it's tied is, you're going to, from your shoulder, you make sure that this part is right on your shoulder, where the shoulder joins the band. And remember, my belt the width I used for this belt is about 4 inches, right? So that's the width if you open it up. So that's how I made this belt. And then the length is almost like, I'm not sure, maybe like 50 inches or so, but just make it as long as you would need. So you make sure that this part is on your shoulder, and then you crisscross it, and then tie it to the front and bring it back again to the back. That's why you need this strap to be very long, because it's not supposed to be like if you cross it over now you tie it in the front. No, basically it helps hold the front together when you just you take it to the front and then bring it back again to this. So the last knot is going to be at the back, and then when you're done, if you find that this part is slacking and your bust is showing, just go ahead and put in like a small dart at the breast. Just fold in your fabric this way, just give it a small dart. It will help to cup the bust a little bit more. So that's basically. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please like, share and subscribe. Bye.